Zanu-PF's former minister of the 1980s, Zingai Mutumbuka, finally recovers his home stolen by Zanu-PF factionalists in deeds scandals. Uh, I think you still remember we spoke about this issue of Zingai Mutumbuka, who happened to be a minister of Zanu-PF in the early 80s, and he's since retired. He retired, and he has been living outside Zimbabwe, but still he had a home, a house in Chisipiti in Harare. And after for a long time outside Zimbabwe, at one point he came back and only to realize that his house no longer belonged to him. The house was taken by some unscrupulous people who are doing these deals at the deeds office, where they are all of a sudden changing some deeds from properties and then sell them. You know, this very issue that we are having with the land barons also of ZANU-PF. And these are all ZANU-PF people. And it is said that these people are within these factions that are fighting, and there is a lot of corruption at the deeds office. So if you have property in Zimbabwe, you really need to be cross-checking whether the deed is still calling your name, because you might discover that the house is no longer in your name altogether. And look at the kind of corruption that is. That is very nauseating kind of corruption. I'm telling you, nobody would really condone such a thing. So this is the ex-minister Zingai Mutumbuka, and the story is here in the Masvingo Mirror, and says here Zimbabwe's first Minister of Education, Zingai Mutumbuka, finally got back his US 600,000 Chisipiti home stolen by fraudster John Ngome and sold for a song to a couple that only paid 45,000. Justice Priscilla Manongwa declared on Wednesday that Ngome stole Mutumbuka's deed from the deeds office, forged the document to the plush home before selling it to Demetria Zirenga and her husband Harrison Marange. Manongwa ordered Zirenga and Marange to vacate the house within 15 days and allow Mutumbuka, whom they had evicted, to immediately move back. She also ordered the deeds office to expunge Ngome's purported title deed, which she said was fake in every respect, as it has no dates, mortgage records, or the official stamp. Stealing title deeds from the deeds office and forging them has turned into a huge industry involving fraudsters, staff of the deeds office, and some unscrupulous lawyers. Mutumbuka lost the house in 2021, and he was evicted through an order granted by Justice Shinamora, who since resigned in a half after a team was set up to investigate his professional conduct. Manongwa said Mutumbuka's title deed was pulled out from the deeds office by Luna Mlambo, who was a supervisor there and a girlfriend to one of the fraudsters. Right. So this is what is happening. Just imagine the kind of corruption that is happening in the offices of the appointees of Emmerson Mnangagwa. And it is said that these guys are in the faction, and these factions are are fighting for for enrichment. Each one is just looking at what they can do to enrich themselves. So you can see for yourself that it involved even the judges. This Justice Shinamora is involved also in this very scandal. So the corruption starts from the deeds office, it gets to the courts, to the high courts, so that by the time that somebody wants to complain at the courts, you do find that the judge will dismiss the case and say you have no case and you are ordered to leave your property. And this is the kind of administration of Emmerson Mnangagwa, which does not have transparency, an administration of Emmerson Mnangagwa which does not have proper records and proper auditing. I'm telling you, nobody would ever do that. Heads should have rolled, I'm telling you, from the high court up to the least person who has ever touched that file, if Zimbabwe was a normal country. Unfortunately, we are not. We are not a normal country because of Emmerson Mnangagwa. We can't continue really to push on and prosper as long as we continue to see ZANU-PF behaving in this manner. Imagine that you have people that have the guts to go and steal somebody's house, a house that the man bought early in the early 80s and can be stolen in 2021, and you are told that the house is no longer yours. And look at the amount that the house was sold, 45,000, and a house that is worth more than $500,000 US dollars. Just imagine the level of insanity, the level of witchcraft that we continue to talk about, that we do have witches in this Mnangagwa administration, and this rot will never finish. It will never finish. There's quite a lot of corruption within Mnangagwa's appointees from government departments, ministries, and wherever that you go to, and people are losing out. Some people are losing the properties, some people are losing monies and things like that. Look at the demolitions that just happened in the past few weeks, where people lost huge properties, houses, big houses that are really going into hundreds of thousands of US dollars. Those houses were just destroyed in few minutes, and only for ZANU-PF to come out and start to distance themselves away from the demolitions, and they start pointing fingers at the Harare City Council, and Mafume comes also and starts blaming the victims. Just imagine. So these are some of the kind of rot that we talk about that are happening in our country, and we really need to continue standing to fight and defend this country. Zimbabwe needs to be defended. Otherwise, by the time that these guys get to wherever they think they want to get to, there won't be any country again. They will have just squandered everything. They will have destroyed everything. Infrastructure will be gone. Roads will be gone. Any other thing that could be of purpose to a nation will be destroyed by these people. And of course, not forgetting the wrong culture that they are already sending out there. Our people are learning a wrong culture. Our young people are learning a wrong culture of kungwava, of just knowing it's not supposed to be like that. A country should have formal employment. People must be formally employed. And the like, that is zvinhu zvaiitwa nevanhu vachaiziva kuti they are wanted by police and they can be arrested at any time. But now this is what everyone is now doing in Zimbabwe, which is quite very unfortunate and very sad. So this is what it is, family. At least we are saying kudos to that judge who is given that judgment, to have Dzinga Mutumbuka receiving his house once again, because you can't just lose property like that after you bought it so expensive and somebody would just walk away with it. Otherwise, if our courts would continue to handle cases in the manner that this case was handled, I'm sure that we will definitely be having quite a lot of justice happening in the country, and those that are in ZANU-PF who are doing all this stuff can also be arrested, you see. And I haven't heard of any arrests that were made following this, because it's just talked about. But the idea of arrest, I thought that there was supposed to be some statement of arresting these people that were involved in this. But it seems like there is no arrest. It's just reversal of what was done, but without any arrest. All those guys that were complicit in the stealing of the papers from the deeds office until the court, all those people must be arrested, and that is the truth of what should be happening. But anyway, this is what it is. Indeed, it is so sad and very painful the way that we see the country being run. They are taking over business and using Zimra as a way to take over. Yes, and Zimra is also very, very corrupt. If you look at the cars that guys at Zimra are driving, and properties they are building, go to Plum today and look at the kind of houses that are being built by people that are working for Zimra. And when you check their salaries are not even different from the rest of the civil servants, but the houses they are building, the properties and whatever, the cars they are driving, some are even hiding properties for fear of being investigated, and they are buying things and putting in the names of relatives and things like that, all because these guys are doing is just corruption after corruption after corruption, right? With ZANU-PF in power, I even am afraid of buying a stand, building a house. Ndonzwa hana yangu ichirova kuvaka muZimbabwe. Yes, that is very true, Mkoma Edwin. And I think the safest thing so far is just to buy a house. Kutotenga imba yanga yakamira even from the days of Smith, zvotori nani, much better. Kuti waenda wanotenga imba muBorodale, waenda wanotenga imba kana kuti kuSunningdale or whatever, it's much better. Izvi zvimwe zvinyuwani zviri kuuya izvi, you can't really just trust, because you never know with these hooligans. You'll find yourself tomorrow losing property. In Zimbabwe, one cannot really be sure of your property. That is very, very true. And if you have property, please continue to check in Zimbabwe, especially for those that are in the diaspora. Continue to check your property in Zimbabwe and check whether your names are still the names appearing there. You might be shocked one of these fine days. For those that are buying, especially those that are buying land, especially in Harare, you need to be very, very careful. I don't know how extra careful you can be, because even the people that are in power, the council and whatever, they don't want to really give people a clear outline of how do you go about it buying land. They just hide some facts, because they know that they want you to be just doing things in darkness, so that eventually you lose the property again and they gain. Once they gain that property, you will see that next time the stand is being sold again to yet another person. And those are the deals that are being done by these ZANU-PF hooligans. So really, it would be much safer to buy a house that has been standing for a very long time, and you just forget about it. Gogopiri is saying even in Gweru, they want to demolish. You see, and if you check properly, you'll find that those that they want to demolish will be usually the new settlements that are upcoming. It really does not really happen in the areas that have been standing for a very long time. So we need to be careful when we are buying stands or buying houses or whatever, or buying some unfinished house somewhere. Somebody might just say, I have a house that is at window level. If you want to buy it, you need to be very, very careful and make sure that you go do due diligence and make sure that you find the information about that before you can part with your money. Otherwise, people are losing, and ZANU-PF doesn't care. The puppets, Fume, they don't care also, because they are busy enriching themselves. So this is what it is. So at least it is good news for Zingai Mutumbuka. In his old age, a man who served Zimbabwe, and he served as a minister, he retired. He deserves respect in Zimbabwe. He deserves, some kind of respect. Those were the people that used to be the real ministers, because the kind of ZANU-PF we have today is not the ZANU-PF of the Zingai Mutumbukas, right? Otherwise, this is what it is, family. I hope everyone is blessed by our meeting on these shows. We are crossing over to the main channel, which are Tufa TV Productions, where we are going to be touching on some issues. Mkoma Nelson, I hope you are doing good. How are you? Otherwise, thank you so much for joining me on the show. Let us meet across on the main channel as we continue to discuss on issues. Remain blessed till we meet again. Shalom.